Here we are. It is Friday, July 12th, 2024, and this is, as you know, the weekly video. We do these every Friday. We take a look at what's been going on in the Asian art and Chinese and Japanese and Korean art market, things that have sold, things that haven't sold, and sort of get a sense of what's going on and talk a bit about quality and how things are made and so forth. There's always something to talk about. Right now, as many of you know, we're in the middle of summer. It's the middle of July here, and there's not a lot going on. The Asian art market quiets down enormously in the summer months. There are some on-site New England estate sales and things like that, but in general, the overall market is very quiet, which means it's a great time to buy. It's a real buying season if you're around, because so many people aren't, and most of Europe is off. Lots of Americans are traveling too, more and more and more, gone for the summer, gone for the month of July, gone for August, and so forth. So if you're looking at stuff, you can pretty reasonably expect to get some pretty good buys if you're doing some serious looking around. And I'm going to get into some pieces that's just this week that illustrate that point pretty well. Some great buys, some amazing buys. And some of you may remember a few weeks ago, I haven't talked about too much. I bought a couple of really great wood carvings, early carvings, from an auction house up in Vermont, just because they didn't have any bidders. It was very, very quiet. And instead of spending $400 or $500 on each item, I spent under $100. And that's the way it is. And it won't stay that way. Around middle, late August, it'll pick up speed again. And then in September, there'll be all the fall sales and so forth. And the auction market will come right back to life as it always does. But right now, it's a good time to buy. Couple of things I wanted to mention over on the Patreon page. We posted the video from yesterday, and it's also on YouTube, as you know, about part 2 of the Qing Dynasty ceramics, looking and examining 19th century porcelains. We're going to do one on 18th century porcelains, but this is for 19th century porcelains, what to look for on foot rims, what to look for on enamels. But we focus on the foot rims because they are very, very useful in identifying and dating Chinese ceramics and Japanese ceramics in particular. These are all focused, of course, on Chinese and all that good stuff. So give that a look if you haven't seen it. Came out pretty well, and we'll be working on the next one. We're already working on it, actually, getting the images together. So we hope to get that up in the next week or so. All right, now, what else is going on here? Patreon and Global Page members, we've updated the report card again, the auction report card. There's now 473 auction houses on here, and they're all graded A through F. And keep in mind that some of these auction houses that we give poor grades to for Asian art, that doesn't mean they're poor grade, low grade auctioneers in every category. But a lot of auction houses that have tried to sort of jump on the Asian art bandwagon, so to speak, to take advantage of a lot of value in that market, and they are sort of they've begun just accepting. They sell very good federal furniture and English furniture and French furniture and decorative art and all this other stuff, but they don't know anything about the Chinese material, so they end up accepting it based on the word of the consignor. Happens a lot. Sometimes you have auction houses too that are just taking things in and they know they're fakes and copies and they're putting them up anyway. They don't care because they want to make money off the lot because they're running an auction, and any auctioneer will tell you that the more lots they can put into a sale, regardless of what they are, that bring $500 to $1,000 or $300 to $1,000, it's all profit for them. It's all gravy. And a lot of the auction houses actually own some of these ceramics that you see and bronzes that you see. So you be very, very careful. But the report card grades them on how they do with Asian art. That's all. We don't discuss European paintings or anything else, just strictly Asian art. All right, now hopping over here to this auction. This was a group of porcelains at one lot that sold at Heritage last week. And you have 2 pairs of Chinese export chestnut baskets with these reticulated openings cut through them. This fits inside of that. This one fits inside of that. They're both armorial on top of it. And there was another basket that was without its tray. But regardless, this is a nice looking lot. There's the backs of it. They look perfectly legitimate, and so forth. One of them or 2 of them had some sort of small repair to the handle. These handles were unbelievably prone to breaking. If any of you have been collecting for any length of time and have seen these around, very often the handles are completely missing. and they just polish the area after the handles get knocked off because they are so prone to damage. One of these or two of these had a repair to the handles, but that was about it. And all five of these pieces, including the 2 pairs of chestnut baskets, went for $340 plus premium. The estimate was very, very low. You can ignore the estimates from Heritage in general, but $340 plus premium. So you're looking at about a $420 purchase. Now, in a normal sort of traditional estate auction, one chestnut basket with one under tray in reasonably good condition that's not armorial, just circa 1800 export wear, they sell for about $350 to $450 for one of them. And some lucky soul bought all of these for that price. And that is not anything wrong with the pieces. It's not the pieces. It's the time of year. It's very, very crucial. And then this is a very nice late 18th century a Bombay form Tureen. It's a big one, big cobalt decorated handles. It was very nice. Apparently there was a repair to the foot rim, which doesn't amount to much. Okay, and this went for, drum roll please, $22 plus premium. All right, and this is a period piece. This is not a copy. They dated it as 19th century. It's not. It was made about 1790 or so, I think. Much more likely date based on the shape and so forth. And $22. It was estimated at 50 to 75 because of the repair. Again, don't pay any attention to their things. And even if it had, I don't see anything wrong with this. And they say it had a repair to the foot, but I can't tell even where it was. But for $22, that was a crazy, ridiculous steal. I thought the estimate, I think also the auction house didn't do themselves any favor by putting that estimate on there, because even restored a Tureen of this quality and size and type, because this was a pretty good example, measured about 10 inches in length, but it was a nice solid piece and very well potted. Even with the restoration, even if a handle had been restored to it, it should have still brought $300 to $400. So the auction houses want to be careful about what they put on for estimates because they can kill their own piece. They can spit. It's called spitting on the piece. And it happens. I've seen dealers do it. I don't know why they do it. Never knock your own goods. And you can knock your own goods by putting estimates like that on there. Really dumb idea. All right, and then over to this. This was something I posted on the Patreon page for the users because there's a bunch of Japanese Amari collectors over there, and I put this on there a couple of weeks ago. It was estimated at $4,000 to $6,000. This was a Bonham sale. These were big jars. They were 24 inches tall, 2 feet tall, 18th century, beautifully decorated. I thought they were really, really nice. I thought they were wonderful, and I love the giant finials on top. Absolutely, very striking pair of jars. And they did real well. They ended up selling they sold for $8,500 hammer price plus the premium. So they ended up selling not for $4,000 to $6,000, but closer to around $10,500. But they were very, very attractive. But it also shows that there's some life in that Japanese porcelain market, even in the summer months, because that was a very, very good price. And this was a sale that was done out. This was Bonham's out in California that had this auction. But they were also the kind of jars that decorators love. So when you have something like this, it plays to the decorator market, it plays to the collector market, and you let them joust it out in a little battle, see who wins them. But these were very, very nice. Very, very attractive. And then this didn't sell at all. Why? And this was at Twents Veilinghuis. Twents Veilinghuis had a sale in the Netherlands. They had a lot of buy-ins, and I'm not quite sure why. They did sprinkle some copies in there and so forth, but I'm not quite sure why they had quite as many buy-ins as they had. But that means you can go in and make post-auction offers. This big platter it has some restoration to it, but they don't say what. So you want to find that out. But it's a pretty good sized plate, and it was estimated at 3 to 900 euros. That's a big range, and it didn't sell. So you might want to get in touch with them and find out what the restoration is. All right, because I'm not sure what it is, judging by the back of it at all. I can't really see the repair unless the lighting is throwing it off, so you can't see it. But check out their auction, because they had other buy-ins, and you could probably approach them and make some private deals on the side. Offer a third below the low estimate and see how they respond. In many cases, you'll get a positive response. I know a guy out here. He's a good dealer. He offers every auction houses 1/3 to half their low estimate post-auction as a matter of policy. And it's amazing how often he buys things. So it's not a bad way to do it, and they won't be insulted. You're not going to hurt their feelings, and that's it. All right, and then there was this. This was a really nice plate, a Chinlung charger. They didn't say how big it was. This was a really strange thing. This was Auctioneum in Bristol and Bath. And for some reason, they called it a charger, but they didn't say how big it is. Here it's a plate. Down here they call it a plate, and up here they call it a charger. And in the end, it just sold for 180 pounds. Now, if this was a charger, it was a steal, because this pattern in a charger, it's an 18th century porcelain as a charger, meaning 14 to 17 inches in diameter. They normally sell for in the $600 to $900 range easily at auction if they're not too worn and they're in good condition. And this one looks like it's in quite good shape. The gilding looks like it's all intact. I don't see any damage to it anywhere. It's got one faint hairline here on the rim, but that's it. But if it's a charger, it was a steal. If it's just a 9 or 10 inch plate, it sold for what it was worth. But again, this is a thing where I don't understand it. But how can an auction house possibly do listings and forget the measurements? And it's not an occasional thing. We see this all the time. And I'm just going to say, if you don't put dimensions in, you might as well not bother doing the listing, because you're going to get a third to a half of what you should be getting. But this looked like a pretty good plate. So it really, the value of this, whether it was a steal or not, really hinges on what the size of it was. But if this was a true charger, for every charger you see, keep this in mind. Every time you see a 15-inch plate, there are probably 30 or 40 10-inch plates in the same pattern out there. And it just shows you how much rarer the chargers are, because they didn't have piles of chargers in every dinner service all the time. And chargers tended to get broken because they were big. All right, now over to this. This was another buy that went well. This was a very nice Joseon period faceted brown glazed jar. In Korea, they made these in blue and white in this shape with faceted sides, and they also did them with this brown glaze. 15th century or 14th or 15th century or so, or 15th century. And it was estimated pretty reasonably, $300 to $500. It had only had 9 bidders and it passed. And this was at Greenwich Auctions. So if you're a Korean ceramic buyer, you want to get a hold of them and see if you could buy that thing, because you might be able to buy it for $150 or $200, which would be a good buy. These normally do sell for, these days they've been selling for $400 to $700 typically in auctions. And dealers sell them for $800 to $1,200. So it has some potential there, especially if you're buying to sell. All right, and then over to this. This was a really good deal, and I think this may come down to somebody not reading. It's either because of the time of the year or somebody didn't bother to read the dimensions. This is a very nice piece of 19th century Ki-Kisu work. Very well done. It's got some pulls here and there in the surface, some rubbing and whatnot, but a very detailed example and rather unusual. And you have all these different figures, some carrying food, demons, ladies in carts, the ascending phoenix, and so forth, ascending acolytes. It's a very nice Buddhist themed thing. And what I said about the dimensions was, I don't know if anybody bothered to read it. It was 55 inches in length. So it's around 5.5 feet long. This is a big piece and 28 inches high, and it went for just $475 against which sold within the estimate, but the estimate was very low. And again, auction houses want to be a little careful with their auction. This was Case Antiques in Knoxville. They had a good sale. It was just last week. Overall, they had very, very good results. But I think this was one of the bargains. And I think at another time of the year, during the winter months when they have some of the Asia sales going on in New York or whatnot, or in London, a panel like this with more eyes looking on the end of that would probably bring $1,200 to $1,500. It was a nice thing. So if one of you got it, yay, you did great. All right, and then over to this. This is just to make, to show you, we talk a little bit about non-Chinese furniture. This is not Chinese, but it was a very nice federal inlaid chest of drawers with tapers. And it's good to know what the rest of the antique market is doing. And this sold for $700. This piece was made around 1800, probably in the New York or Philadelphia area, judging by the quarter column under here and the way it's line inlaid. I don't think this is a New England chest. I think think it's probably down the coast a little bit from here. But a beautiful piece of furniture. French feet, nice shaped skirt at the bottom, nice taper to the body, and it went for just $700 plus premium. And again, I mentioned this only to remind people that antique custom furniture like this that was made by hand out of beautiful wood, beautiful color, woods you can't get anymore, literally, because these are all old growth trees, maple trees and so forth. This was from a cherry tree. They're not here. They have fast growth trees now that are all have no grain, no coloration to them. They're rather modern. Mahogany, for example, looks like pine because it has no burl and has no color in the grain in most cases, unless it's chemically added. And this was a very, very nice piece of furniture. $700, absolute bargain. A new chest like this, of this quality, not even handmade, just made in a factory, but sold in a cabin house or something like that, would probably be somewhere in the $1,000 to $1,500 range, and it'll be worth $100 the day after you buy it, because there's used furniture retains very little value most of the time. And then you had this. This was another great buy that I noticed. This was a Pennsylvania step back cupboard, beautiful glass panels, nice surface on it, and all that. $600. There you go. Federal period walnut chest. And this was walnut, not pine. Walnut. And you try to find some custom made walnut furniture today. Good luck. And this was sold by, this was a company in Pennsylvania, right? Yeah. Conestoga Auction Company, the one with the wagon. Yeah. They've been around a long time. Good auction house. Nice cabinet though. Nice cabinet. And then over to other things that are coming up. I wanted to touch base on this. I pointed this out over on the Patreon page to the users over there. This is a Chinese export table. And this is a very rare Chinese export table. And if you've always wanted to own a really good piece of Chinese export porcelain, I actually did I did a little write-up on this because this is a really good form. This is based on an English Queen Anne table, but it's got some Irish elements in the knees. And this was made in China out of Padauk wood. And the Chinese did make furniture like this, absolutely, in the 18th century. Over the years, we've had Chippendale chairs that were made in China that look like English chairs, but the woods are different, obviously. And Queen Anne chairs and side tables and chests and slant lid desks that are China trade, looking like Chippendale desks. And here's one of a drop leaf with these beautifully carved knees. Wonderful finish on it. This is a very, very, very nice table. And this is being sold by a man who had an antique shop for a long time in Pennsylvania, and he closed it, but he had a very good reputation. And this table was exhibited at Grosvenor House Art and Antiques Fair in 1996. So it's been around a bit. It's a very fine example. It's estimated at $5,000 to $7,000. And if you've ever wanted to own a really great piece of China trade furniture, this is a chance to buy one in a highly unusual form, because you don't see these drop leaf tables very often. They're very, very rare. You see desks, you see chests, and you see chairs, but not many drop leaf tables. So if you'd like a really lovely drop leaf table, it's 37 inches wide, basically opened up, and it's 28 inches tall. So it's the right height. It's a full-scale table, beautifully done, made for the English market. All right, and then this is also in that sale. I'm going to mention this just for the rug guys out there that might have missed this. This is a bijar. It's a beautiful bijar carpet, late 19th century. This is being sold at Freeman's also. Unbelievably nice colors. When I first saw it, I thought it was probably from about 1910 or 20, not that it makes a big difference. This is the antique shop that it was in. There's the rug on the ground. This is a huge rug. It is 17 by 12 feet. So if you're looking for a really, really big rug that'll last a long time and is top quality wool, top quality dyes, you want to look at this bijar. Bijars are known as iron rugs because of the way they're woven. They have a wefting, depressed alternate warps, the way they weave them. So the foundations of these rugs are incredibly strong and durable. And they're typically woven from extremely durable but very, very soft, lovely wool that take a dye well. So this is a nice carpet. If you're looking for a great carpet, and I didn't notice any wear on this, so maybe some somewhere, but I couldn't see any. And the estimate is very low, $1,000 to $2,000. This rug in a fine antique shop or a fine rug shop in New York City would be $20,000 to $30,000 pretty comfortably based on its size. It's not a 9 by 12. It's a 12 by 17, which means it's roughly double the size of a 9 by 12. There's a lot of square footage there. It's got 4 bids. It's up to $1,400. The sale is in 2 days on the 16th. If you're looking for a fantastic carpet, this is it. Now keep in mind it's very, very heavy. Bee jars are very heavy rugs. So if you buy it, you're going to have and you can't pick it up, you're going to have a bit of a shipping bill. But even if the shipping is $2,000 or $3,000, it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. It's a great rug. All right, now moseying along over to this. This just came up this week. This is at Revere Auctions out in St. Paul in Minnesota. There's a sale coming up, and they've got a few interesting things in it. And one of them is this book. If any of you have been looking for a copy of David Howard's Chinese Armorial Porcelain, here it is. Here's a copy of it, 1,034 pages. It's the Faber edition, done in 1974. It's a fairly good sized book. These are fairly substantial books. Almost, more along the line of coffee table size books. But this is the Bible right here, David Howard's book. So if you've been looking for it, you want to get over there and hit it. It should bring, they estimated at 200 to 400. It could bring 500 or 600 because these are pretty scarce. But the export market's a little soft right now, so you might get a bargain. But this is the book. This is the book, and you want to have it. All right, and the other thing that's in here is this. This is in the same sale, I believe, right? Yeah, Revere is Customs of China. It's 2 volumes it's 2 books with 4 volumes combined into it, nicely bound. Here it is, and they have all these wonderful. If you're interested in Chinese culture and so forth, this is a really interesting book because it's seen through the eyes of foreigners in 1824, 200 years ago this year. This book was published. And it's got observations and explanatory, historical, and literary by M. Britton, translated from the French, because originally it was published in French, and so forth. And it's got colored plates. This is a really neat book. This pair of books. You can read them. You can, and you'll be able to see costume arts, how foreigners and how the French and people that were there, how they viewed the Chinese during the late Jiajing and early Daoguan period. It would have been Jiajing because it was 1824. So at the end of the Qianlong era. So it's an interesting peek into history. So if you enjoy books like this and you like to read, I would read this. It'll give you a lot of useful information, I suspect. Little tidbits, little stories, great stuff. And then over here to this. This is a Chinese rug that's coming up in Boston at Bonham's. I believe this is, I'm going to double check and make sure I don't misspeak. Yeah, Bonham's, Marlborough, Massachusetts, down here, which used to be Skinner Auction Houses, but Auction House in Boston, Bob Skinner's place, but it was bought by Bonham's a couple of years ago. And they have this rug. It's 8 by 9 feet. It's a beautiful rug. It's woven like a painting, which it caught my eye. One, the pile is in very good condition. It was woven probably in the first quarter of the 20th century. They're saying 1920, which is probably about right. But the drawing of it with the bird and the branch here looks like so many literati school paintings that you've seen on ink, on black ink on white paper of the bird and the branch and spring flowers, and then the ascending swallowtail bird from above, and so forth. This is a very pretty rug. It's almost so pretty enough you could hang it like a tapestry on a wall, which people do. They do it more in Europe than they do here. But this was a wonderful looking carpet. Beautiful color, very soft. These rugs have phenomenally soft wool. I like this rug a lot. It's estimated at $2,000 to $3,000 with a $1,000 opening bid, but it appears to be in very, very good condition. I would call and get a condition report if you're looking for a nice 8 by 9 foot. It's basically an 8 by 10. It's 8'3" by 9'8", so it's basically an 8 by 10 carpet in square footage. But really lovely example in a very warm color. And the other rug that they have in the sale is this one, a similar sort of rug. It's directional, obviously, of ascending phoenixes and this rocky outcropping and buildings and bamboo trees and all this great stuff. This is a much smaller rug. It's only 3 by 5 feet, 3'6" by 5'10" but a very, very attractive rug. The weave on it definitely looks to be late 19th, early 20th century. How did they date it? Early 20th century. century. They dated it. Estimated at $300 to $500, $150 opening bid. You should be able to buy this rug for under $500 or around $500, I would think, unless somebody that really loves the art, and a couple of people really love it and have to have it, and then it'll take off. But again, it's one of these rugs. You could walk on it, or you could hang it on a wall. But if you buy it, I wouldn't walk on this too much. It's not going to like heavy traffic. The wool on this is probably pretty soft, but it would look absolutely great on a hall, in a room in a corner where there's not a lot of high traffic, or just hanging, like I said, like a tapestry. It's the right size. All right. And then over to this. This is a nice piece of, this is coming up, a nice piece of buncheong, where it's an urn in cover Korea, Joseon period, 15th or 16th century. Very nice slip decoration on it, on that gray porcelain, gray pottery body. Looks pretty good. And there's some characters on the front of it. Korean stuff right now has been very much in the doldrums over the years. This is a nice one, though. It's 9 inches tall, estimated at $5,000 to $7,000 with a $4,000 opening bid, and it has its original cover, and the loop handles are still attached, which is almost unbelievable. So it'd be a pretty good thing. This is also being sold at Bonham's out in Marlborough, the old Skinner company. And they have this, Shoji Hamada. If those of you that buy Japanese stuff, you want to look at this. When I first saw this, I thought it was like a 6-inch dish, the way it presents with the light. This is a 20-inch plate by Hamada. Absolutely wonderful glaze on it. Love the warm cocoa brown color. And then he's sprinkled in the teal and so forth. The back of it looks like a typical Hamada ware, a little bit rustic with a glop of glaze on there and so forth. But this is a nice piece of pottery. Very, very nice piece of pottery. As of course, it's a little bit irregular in shape. It's actually a bowl, I guess, 20-inch bowl, but a beautiful example. And the estimate, I think, is perfectly reasonable. $2,000 to $3,000, $1,000 opening bid. If you've been wanting to own, if you ever want to know a really nice piece of Hamada, it's a good time to buy it, because his things are selling for a lot less than they were selling for 20 years ago. And this is a lovely, lovely example. I don't know where it came from. They didn't mention any provenance on it. But it probably came from a pretty good collection because of the size. It's a big 20 inches for a Hamada bowl. That's a big bowl. Very unusual. It could bring a lot more too. It could take off. But right now, it's only got 5 people watching it. So you may be able to pick it up for under the low estimate, which would be a steal. Be a great buy. All right, and then over here, this is another one. They have this Goryeo period Korean jar. Another nice example. Well decorated, simple, sort of elegant shape. I've always liked these. I like Korean stuff. As you know, 12th to 13th century, estimated at $700 to $1,200, $600 opening bid. I think that'll be very buyable if you're a Korean buyer. You want to get over to Skinner's, Bolton, and or Bonham's Marlborough, and check that out. And then over to this. This is coming up on Cape Cod at Eldred's. Eldred's every summer gets some pretty good China trade things. They used to get a lot of things from Alan Hartman, who ran Rare Art in New York. He was a big consignor to Eldred's. He worked with the Eldred family for years and years and years. And I think the Hartmans used to go to Cape Cod. His nephew Stevie lives in the Boston area. And we used to get Mr. Hartman used to come to our auctions, as a matter of fact. He was a nice man. He was tough, but he was a perfectly good guy. He was okay to deal with. And but they have this, any rate, at Eldred's coming up. And it's a little confusing. I looked at it, I said, what is this about here? They got 2 pictures. They look identical. Early 19th century, the widow of an Indian chief watching her, okay, and when her deceased husband, and it's a little bit of a morbid scene, but it's an English engraving over here that was done, okay. And somebody shipped that engraving to China, and they did it as a reverse painting on glass. An English, I believe this was an English artist, a reverse painting on glass of a Native American Indian, but done in China for the China trade. This is a really unusual thing. If you want a very, very rare piece of China trade art, this is very, very rare. People are going to say, I've never even heard of a Native American on a piece of a Chinese reverse painting. Let's see here. It's a reproduction as a mezzotint that was done originally by Raphael Smith. 1785 is the likely source of the material for the work. I would say so. I would say that there's a strong resemblance there. They're saying it's the likely source for this picture. On the right is the one on the left. I think it's fairly evident. But at any rate, this is a very unusual thing. very unusual. And let's see, what are they saying? It's done in the early 19th century. It's good size, 19 by 24 inches, the glass size, not the overall size, the glass size. And remember, they used to export the glass from England, send it to China, and they would use it as to reverse paint on them. The Chinese didn't make sheet glass. All the sheet glass pictures that you see done in China were all done on English foreign glass. It was imported glass. And this is one of them. The estimate is nothing, $1,000 to $2,000 with a $500 starting bid, and it has very little interest, 3 bidders, because it's such a strange thing. But if you're a China trade collector and you're a serious China trade collector, if you spent $5,000 on this, it wouldn't be an unreasonable purchase because it's extremely unusual. Extremely unusual, very rare thing. I really like it, obviously. But check it out. This is Eldred's. It's coming up on the 24th of July. It's coming up in about 12 days, a little less than 2 weeks. So you have plenty of time to get in touch with them, get a condition report, check into shipping, because shipping glass, reverse paintings on glass is a bit of an ordeal. But if you live in the area, go pick the thing up. This is a great thing. The scene is a little morbid, but the subject matter is unbeatable, really, as far as its origin goes. And then over to this. This is also coming up at Bonham's. And I wanted to show this because it's an interesting thing. It's a Clair de Lune white slip Clair de Lune over a white slip of butterflies. And we've seen these before in celadons and other things and so forth. But it's a very nice one. It's got a shaped rim on it. How big is this thing? I forget. It was 10 inches or something, 11 inches in diameter. Nice example. It looked like it's in good shape, but when you flip it over, here's the back of it. And this is sort of in keeping with the video from the other day on foot rims. This is an early 19th century, probably piece, first half of the 19th century. It's got sort of a ersatz Chin-Lung mark. It's a little fouled up. It's not exactly the way it should be. They're saying Chin-Lung or later. It's later, I'm pretty certain. But notice here's the foot rim with that brown dressing. We often see these brown dress foot rims. This is what one looks like that was made in the first half of the 19th century, after 150, 200 years. The wear, these white area that's on the bottom of the foot. In the video the other day, you don't want to see wear on the side of a foot. You want to see wear on the bottom of the foot where it touches the table. And this is what it would look like if it had a brown dressing and it had any use at all over the years. You're going to see wear to it. And you'll notice some areas have more wear or whiter than others. And that's because the foot rim is just slightly different. Remember, these are all thrown by hand. So you're going to have one area of the foot that contacts more with the table than another area of the base. And that's just how it is. But anyway, it's a nice looking plate. It's an interesting example. The estimate on it, I think, is a little heavy-handed. I think they're putting it on there hoping maybe somebody will think that it's Chin-Lung. I'm not sure. I'd be surprised if it got to $1,500 to $2,500. I think a more reasonable estimate would have been probably $700 to $1,200 or $800 to $1,200 maybe. But we'll see. You never know. Maybe because it's Clair de Lune, it's a blue glaze instead of a celadon. Somebody will go crazy for it. I don't know. But I don't think anybody's going to buy it as Chin-Lung. I'd be surprised at that. I don't see it as that. And then this is coming up. This is, if you're Japanese, you like Japanese metalwork, pay attention to this. This is coming up at Eddie's down in New York. It's a repoussé patented copper thing of a shishi, and all this groundwork around it. It's a fairly good sized plaque. This thing is big. It is, 16 inches tall and 26 inches to it, over 2 feet wide. It's a pretty good sized plaque. It's not, 8 by 10 inches or something. And this is it. It's got a wonderful feeling to it. The decoration, the details in it, the quality is excellent. Nice old Japanese frame. Edo. This looks like, I don't know how they're dating it, but it looks like late Edo workmanship to me. Did they even bother dating it? No, they didn't. Okay. Well, anyway, if I were down there looking at this, I'd probably believe it to be first half of the 19th century Edo period, but beautifully patinated. The patina on this is wonderful. It's very visual and big, and he's got the ball here, the flower ball here, and he's sort of snarling and so forth. And I love the flowers all the way around it. And it looks like it's in very nice condition. I don't see any areas. Whenever you see plaques, bronze, or metalwork like this that have been very nicely patinated by the maker, always check it to make sure some idiot didn't try to clean it off. Every once in a while, you'll see one of these, and because it'll have an area that's been messed up in the corner because somebody that had owned it at one point didn't realize that color, this surface, is what's supposed to be there, and they try to clean it, and they'll take steel wool or a polish, and they'll start rubbing it, and then they'll realize, oh, I'm ruining it, and they stop. So always check these big pieces of metalwork for areas where grandpa or grandma tried to clean it. And this one doesn't look like anybody abused it. It's a beautiful, beautiful piece. The estimate on it is very modest, $600 to $800. Absolutely worth that. And I would hope it would bring $1,500 or so, but we'll see. It's as a piece of art. This is a nice piece of hanging art, and I love the way the shishi is done. And then this is coming up also. Now, this is coming up at this is a different place. This is Butterscotch in Bedford, New York, and this is a nice set of 4 Qing 1840, 1850 watercolors on pith. But the quality of the painting is quite good. There's a little bit of toning to the paper. It's not as white. It should be, pith paper tends to be extremely white if it's never been exposed to the air. These were probably in an album that was laying around, and they got a little bit of toning to them, but it didn't hurt it. The color is fine. It looks like ivory. But the decoration on this, the drawing, when you look at the details down in here, and the way the flowers are done, absolutely great. And they've got this very nice looking frame. It's almost like a Dutch frame that somebody put on it. But the details of the way the flowers are done and everything are really excellent. The little insects on the corner and so forth. The estimate is $400 to $1,200. It's already got 2 bids. It's up to $550. I suspect it's going to get there. I suspect this is going to bring somewhere around $800 to $1,200. But I think it'll bring in I think the estimate's probably going to end up being just about spot on. But if you're looking for a lovely pair of ready-to-hang pith paintings with $400 frames on each one, this is a pretty good buy. This is a good buy. It's a good value because replacing those frames would be extremely expensive. They're very expensive frames. And then hopping along over to some things that sold this past week. Oh, no, things that are coming up. This is going to be on the newsletter page this week over at Bidamount. Those of you that pay attention to it, this is the page. And each week we put things on here that we find that we sort of vet in advance to put up that are on eBay. There's not a lot on eBay right now in the areas that we've been looking because, again, people are away. And as a result, I think there'll be some pretty good judicious buys for the impecunious collectors, which we all should be. Any rate, here we go. This jar. I spotted this week. This is this is a big jar. It's 14 inches tall. It's not an auction lot. This is a buy it now for $650, but I don't think it's a bad buy at all. This is a nice looking piece of red cinnabar, late 19th century, possibly early 20th, 1880s to 1910, somewhere in there I would expect, judging by the workmanship and the way it's done and the condition of it and the appearance of the foot. There it is. That looks like a late 19th century bottom to me. It's got a few bumps and grinds on it and whatnot, but it's still a nice thing. You want to double check it for condition. It's got a little break here on the edge of the lid. Somebody probably dropped it, but it's a nice looking piece, and it's in shape and style. It's sort of reminiscent of forms that you saw also during the Ming Dynasty with these sort of high shoulder on here. But I like the workmanship. I think the workmanship is good and it's worth it. And maybe contact the seller and make him an offer because it's been up there for a while. But this is a good buy. It's a perfectly reasonable buy in over a foot tall, 14 inches tall with a lid. The lids are never still with these things ever. They always seem to be missing. All right, and then also this week there are going to be a bunch of little interesting Ming plates. And this one caught my eye. This one has the brown dressed, the center where the fish is was left unglazed, and then they put a brown dressing on it, so it highlights the fish. And these are minyao. These aren't high end formal wares at all. They're just provincial wares, but charming as all get out. 15th to 16th century. Here's the bottom of it. It's got that flattened, very smooth white porcelain area around it. But perfectly nice. This could have been a little late. I'm not so sure it's 15th century. I believe it's to be 16th or late 16th century. I think the date may be a little optimistic on this, but it's splitting hairs. It's a charming looking dish. It's about, 6 inches in diameter, 5 inches, 4.75 inches. So it's a fairly small plate, but a nice thing. It should bring $150 pretty comfortably. And then you have this one, this very sort of energetically drawn fish plate. Another one. The person that owned this collection liked fish because there's a fish theme running right through them all. And this one, this is 6 or so inches in diameter, but nicely done. And I love the free-form drawing of these aquatic plants with the fish coming through it. I love it when they do that. The back of it looks very typical, like early to mid 16th century blue and white ware, but very nice. It's only up to $10. Should bring a couple of hundred. Nice plate though. And then there's a Sung. They're saying Yuan to Ming. I think there's more likely Sung to Yuan myself, but it's a little older than he does. But that foot looks pretty good. Nice looking plate. It's got. It appears to be sort of dull in the glaze, so it may have been an excavation piece, or may have been under the ocean at some point, because I don't see a lot of gloss on here, and the finish looks fairly matte. But the repoussé work of the fish, very strongly done, and very similar to the Ming plate that we looked at, the same sort of treatment, but this one is much older. It's only up to $16. This should bring $300 to $400 pretty comfortably, but a nice looking thing. There's a number of them. There's probably 8 or 10 of them on the newsletter page this week, so do check it out. And if you go to the newsletter page, subscribe to it, then you get notified each week when we update it. And that sort of thing. And there's some decent things coming up. And the results last week were quiet, but because there weren't that many things on there. And you had things like this Straits community covered pot, nice pink ground turquoise, bright colors as always with Straits ware. Ended up selling for $400, which is, I think that was a little on the soft side. We've seen these in the past bring $600-700, and again, I think it's probably because of the time of the year. And then over to this double gourd vase, cobalt with gilding over the glaze. 19th century example, has a Qianlong mark on it. It's obviously not Qianlong, but perfectly nice, very decorative looking piece. Here it is in hand. And how tall was this? Was Stubbsy Wubsy was selling this. It just pretty much 8 inches. It's 9.5 centimeters in height. 20 centimeters is 8 inches, so it's 8 inches. It did very well though. And I think it's because the blue was very vibrant. It had a very vibrant blue color. I don't think it was, it's not a Qianlong piece, but it had a Qianlong mark. But it's pretty clearly 19th century. And it sold for $2,074. I think without the mark, it probably would have brought about $900. But people pay a premium for marks, even if they're apocryphal, even if they're not don't really go with the piece. And then on to this, the lanterns. So we talked about them last week. I just want to come back and tell you everybody what they brought. I love these kinds of things. I love objects you can use in your home because antiques should be used. If you have vases, put flowers in them. If you have lanterns like this and they're not illuminated, either set them up for kerosene or wax or candles, or electrify them and use them. They add so much to a room. These were very, very nice enamels. First part of the 20th century, and it was a pair with metal mounts, all ready to go. This was a very good buy. It came out to about $350 for each one. If you went to an interior decorator and tried to buy these, you'd pay about $1,200 per lamp, because the interior people love these. And this was a nice pair. They call them wedding lamps. Because they were supposed to go in the receiving area or into the boudoir on the wedding night, that kind of thing. It's a romantic story. I think it's mostly made up, but at any rate, that's what they call them. And that's sort of it for the week. All right. So like I said, it's a little bit quiet. It'll remain quiet for the next few weeks. Don't be surprised if you look at the global pages, you look at Live Auctioneers, look at Invaluable, and you run a search. You're not going to come up with a lot of stuff. There's not going to be a lot of stuff there for a few weeks. Things tend to come back around the second week of August into the market, the end of the second week, third week, and then suddenly auctions for September start to appear. Auctions that are around the 1st through the 10th of September will start appearing around the 14th or so of August. And sometimes they upload the auctions, so they don't even include photographs right away because they just want to get the sale out there to let people know. But there will be some sales, and then in September and the fall, we'll see how the market is. But so far this year, the market's been strong. The Chinese economy doesn't seem to be pulling people back out of the auction market very much. Assets are always good to buy. There'll be ups and downs, but that's just part of it. But right now, I think things are going on pretty well. All right. So have a good week. If you haven't subscribed yet here, please do. If you leave a comment, I'd love to hear. I'd love to read comments. Leave comments. I'm always curious as to what you like the most, what you'd like to see, and I do read all of them, because I want to know what you folks are interested in. I want to, and then we can put together things to accommodate you. That's all. It's fun. It's fun to do. Okay. Have a good weekend. It's going to pour rain, I guess, here tomorrow. We need it desperately. The lawn looks like shredded wheat. Starting to. It hasn't gotten there yet, but it's getting pretty brown. Okay. Have a good weekend, and see you all in a few days. All right. Bye-bye.